The Alchemist, one of the greatest books ever written by Paulo Coelho out of Rio de Janeiro, and how it relates to your real estate journey. I just finished rereading this book, and I thought there were some just reminders of the story and the book and how they, relate to your personal life. But with my channel, we're always talking about real estate, personal development, positivity, abundance. And so I thought I'd kind of do a little video talking about my recent reflections of The Alchemist and how it might relate to your real estate journey. If you haven't read it, you've got to get a copy and read it. And if you've read it already, read it again because it's such a great book. The quick summary is it shares the story of Santiago, the sheep herder who is on a journey, and along the way he encounters many setbacks, mentors, life lessons and discovery as he travels from Spain to the Egypt pyramids. And along the way he discovers his personal legend. And we all can have a personal legend. I'm going to leave it up to you to dive in and read the book so that you can define what your personal legend is. But for the purposes of today's real estate, your personal legend might just be your dream or how you go about, your real estate journey. So I'm going to review kind of the main topics we're going to cover. We're going to go by them in detail and share some examples, and then we'll wrap up with a conclusion. Okay, so some of the main themes covered in The Alchemist relate to your personal legend and one's true purpose or your dream or that thing that inspires you, call it your why, or the direction you're headed and why you're doing it. Then there's the role of risk and fear. Santiago, along his journeys, encounters a lot of risks and fear, and obviously in real estate we do as well. Learning from mentors and omens. If you've read the book, you'll notice that Santiago encounters many different people along the way that serve as mentors and omens, from the crystal glass shop owner, all the way to the other sheep herders and the people he meets along the way. The value of persistence. Santiago did not stop. He kept his journey going even though it was full of twists and turns. And then finally, the treasure lies sometimes where you least expect it. So go back to the top, your personal legend. This is such a great experience if you haven't done it. I remember when I did the MRED, one of our classes, kind of like the end of our class, he wanted us to all write our own personal legend because he also really loved the book, The Alchemist. And so again, dive back into the book. You're going to find tons of value, and then come up with your own personal legend and then share it with us. What is your own personal legend? But as it relates to real estate, why are you doing it? What is your compass for doing real estate? Is it to make a quick buck? Sometimes for people it's to improve the neighborhood. They have more of an altruistic view of it. It's maybe to provide opportunities for those that you work with, meaning your team or contractors or subcontractors. It could be that you're just bored. A lot of times it's a mix of all of them. Obviously, you're not going to do this if you don't have the chance to make money. But sometimes if you do it for other reasons, like you really want to revitalize a neighborhood or you want to do this or that, that might come at the expense of profits at times. Maybe your goal is to do super high quality work and you're not too worried about, making as much money. Some people like to do volume. So the more that you could define why it is you're doing what you're doing and define your own personal legend as it relates to real estate, one, you're going to enjoy it a lot more. You're going to have more success. It's not going to be boring. It's not going to feel like a job, and you're going to get a lot more fulfillment out of it. So if you're new, you maybe need to think about that and be open to that. It might change over time. Maybe when you start, it is about making money because it's a replacement for maybe a job that you just had that you want to now replace with flipping houses or buying and holding real estate. But as you go on, that may change. And so that's why I really like revisiting this book, is because your view of the world, your experiences are going to change over time. And so it will be with your why or your purpose or your reason for why you're doing real estate. But you ought to define what that is. It's like, what is your game plan? Why are you doing what you're doing? And if you're an experienced investor, like I said, your purpose might change in life, and you might transition from it's all about money, money, money to just doing a really quality job or having enough properties to employ your team. So be open to what your own personal legend is as it relates to real estate, and modify, adapt as needed. There's a big role of risk and fear in life, clearly, and even in Santiago's journey, it's a great reminder that that fear and risk should be taken into account, but it shouldn't hold you back from continuing on. So your first deal is always scary, you know, maybe you're not quite sure how you're going to raise the money. You're not quite sure how you're going to actually do the remodel. You're unsure how a loan application works, or maybe you're afraid of, like, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know how to evaluate, you know, this rental opportunity. Who might get to property manage? There's going to be a lot of fear, and there is going to be a lot of risk. Deals don't always go the way that you think they're going to go. There's money that can be lost. We've talked a lot about that on this channel. But this video, again, is to correlate, you know, to kind of make some comparisons to The Alchemist. But going through those fears and breaking through that fear and taking those risks ultimately are going to get you to a place that you weren't before. You might have to go backwards at times, but the only way we really learn is by failing. And, you know, as the sayings go, if you can fail forward and keep moving after making those, you know, flaws or facing that risk, you're going to be way better off for it. So confronting, growth only comes from confronting, not avoiding those fears. The other big one that is illustrated in this book is encountering different mentors and omens along the way. And certainly your real estate career will not be as successful as it could be if you don't have the right mentors. And look at omens. Omens might be, you know, when you're networking with other people and relying on their experience and wisdom because you don't quite have it yet. Clearly mentors, hopefully I'm a mentor to some of you. Many of you are mentors to me. But, you know, like, there's people that have been there and done that before. You know, success leaves clues. So the more information you can get ahead of time, the more help, the more coaching, the more training, the more education, that's only going to reduce the risks you might face in the future, and it's going to eliminate some fear. The more knowledge you have, the more confident you are, the more clarity you have, and the better off you'll be able to make decisions, specifically in real estate. So look for those omens, look for those mentors, and real estate can be a little bit of a gut feel, but you also, in addition to mentors and omens, which might sound a little woohoo, you definitely need to have the data to back up some of your decision making and analytical skills when it comes to real estate. But learn from those mentors, look out for those omens, and you're going to have a fun time rereading or reading The Alchemist to see what some of those omens or serendipitous moments that Santiago encountered on his journey from Spain to Egypt. Some of those are just basic ones, like omens might be as obvious as like doing your proper due diligence, observing trends, making data-driven choices like I mentioned. The value of persistence, that is a common theme in the book where Santiago keeps moving despite his setbacks. For new investors, that might be you're gonna make mistakes. You know, you are gonna make mistakes even with the best information you have at the time. Deals are gonna fall through. You're not gonna get to that next rest stop in the journey. You know, maybe you're going to need to camp 3 times before you get there. A buyer is going to back out at the last minute. You're going to buy a house that has a broken sewer that you didn't think of. You're going to have a business partner that maybe thinks differently from you over the course of time. You're going to have somebody take money from you. You're going to hire the wrong contractor. You're going to price the home incorrectly. You're going to have, you know, the rates go up while you're in the middle of a development project. You know, you're going to have all sorts of things that are going to happen. But if you just persist and keep learning and never bet everything on one hand, you know, don't bet your whole future just on one deal. But if you're spreading yourself out and you're constantly iterating, there's another concept that I've talked about a lot, like dollar cost averaging. If you're always in the game, you're always going to be buying and selling. You might buy at times when it's high and sell when it's low. But if you're in a good market where it's consistently going up, you're going to be benefiting from always being in the game or staying persistent. For you that are more experienced, like you're seeing now, we're going through a different cycle. You know, inventory's up depending on which data you're looking at. You know, 40% from 2019, and like maybe 90% from the lowest in COVID. Rates are 2.5 times what they were a while ago. If you've been doing this long enough, we rode the great financial collapse in 2007, 2008. We've experienced a stalled market, good interest rates, bad interest rates. And it's tough because once you have one strategy, it changes when you have to adapt to a new strategy. So just be aware that you got to just keep persisting. You got to keep grinding. You got to keep looking for a way to win. And you've got to be aware that the same buying method you did when the market was good might not be the same when the market shifts. And what really is terrible is when you're in between cycles and you've committed to one strategy, and which a lot of us are going through right now. You just got to keep persisting and looking for a way to win. Finally, treasures lie where you least expect it. So sometimes your success comes from something maybe unexpected, or maybe the market changing might be a blessing in disguise. Sometimes it ends up being not that maybe you lost money on a deal, but along the way you learned so much. You maybe found a new business partner, or you learned that, man, that is not what I'm going to do in the future. I want to do more buy and holds. I don't want to flip. That was such a disaster. Or maybe it could be something like, oh, I really realized by taking this risk that the real treasure is I've now discovered a way that I can get to a point where I can be financially free a lot quicker than I thought. So there's so many ways and treasures that lie when you least expect it. Some of them are going to be good, some are going to be bad, but ultimately all of them are going to be good because you can learn from your mistakes and you can pivot when you need to. But the other beauty that comes is, even if you maybe have a deal that goes bad, but getting to that deal, if you go back upstream or downstream, however you look at it, and you realize, oh, to get to this point and to get through this flip and maybe to take 6 or 7 months and then to have it lose money, you could look at that as a total failure. But if along the way you learned new networking opportunities, maybe new contacts for lending, new ways to raise money, ways to analyze deals better, ways to vet contractors better, that all is a treasure in and of itself that you never ever would have got had you not gone through it yourself. So remember, you always need to find your personal legend. You're going to need one for your personal life as well as your ethos for your real estate investing. There's always going to be fear and risk. You're going to need to find mentors and omens, and you're going to need to persist and not give up, and look for the beauty and the treasures that might not be the expected ones that you're going after to get from. Follow Santiago on his journey and you'll be inspired once again. So like Santiago, every real estate investor's path is marked with challenges and unexpected rewards. And I wanted to end this video just by reading 3 quotes that come out of this book because I think they're really powerful and really awesome, and it would be a good way to end this video. So your personal legend is, when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. So a lot of times it comes about belief. It becomes about that mindset of getting yourself right. Now that doesn't mean that you don't have to not do any work for it, but when you want something, the universe will conspire to help you achieve it. It is the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting. We can't give up on our dreams. We can't expect, again, everything to just work like that overnight. But if we're progressing on a journey and we have our personal legend, we have a plan, and we work that plan, that typically is where the reward comes. I can't tell you how many times we've done a flip. It's like Christmas, right? You're waiting to open up the presents in a flip. Maybe you just know it's going to close and you're going to make a lot of money, or it's going to do well. And then it happens, and I enjoy it because that was the reward, but I already start looking forward to the next journey, because along the way, it is a lot of fun and rewarding to see something, a plan you put into place, come to fruition. So there is a ton of value in the journey. And then embrace change. Don't give in to your fears. If you do, you won't be able to talk to your heart. And that is so true right now. There's a lot of fear and anxiety and uncertainty out there in this world and in the real estate market. And there's reason for concern, there's reason for pause, there's reason for, self-reflection, but don't give into those fears, because once you do, you can't hear your heart, you can't hear your gut, you can't hear all the positive that is ready to come out and to guide you along the way. So anyway, thanks for watching. Grab that book, The Alchemist, read it or reread it, and drop a comment or share what your personal legend is, or what some of your favorite quotes or what your takeaway from reading or rereading this book is. Thank you.